And Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, used his first official overseas trip to meet with the leaders of Britain and France.
Our economy is stronger than the American economy in the medium term. And we are going to be stronger than the American economy, particularly if the U.S. government continues to pursue these types of policies.
The diplomatic tensions between Canada and the United States have escalated in recent days, with Ottawa asserting that it may reconsider the procurement of F-35 fighter jets. This unexpected move has disrupted the political landscape, but is Canada genuinely preparing to abandon the $13 billion F-35 deal? The economic pressures stemming from Washington's steel and aluminum tariffs.
We'll also be announcing steel tariffs on Monday. Everybody, steel.
Including Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about aluminum?
Aluminum too.
Along with additional taxes on agricultural products, appear to have prompted Ottawa to take a firm stance. If you want to stay updated on this evolving situation, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Furthermore, the Canadian government is signaling a potential reassessment of not only the F-35 acquisition, but also its broader military collaboration with the United States. What do the statements from Prime Minister Mark Carney and Defense Minister Bill Blair suggest?
Given the possibility of having substantial production of alternative aircraft in Canada, as opposed to sending, as we have been, on average 80 cents of every dollar to the United States, it's prudent and in the interest of Canada to review those options, and that's what the process that the Defense Minister is initiating.
Is Canada contemplating the purchase of fighter jets from Europe instead? In this analysis, we delve deeper into Canada's growing rift with the United States and its possible consequences. For nearly 2 years, Canada has been navigating a turbulent phase in its defense and trade relations with the U.S. The tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, targeting key sectors such as steel, automobiles, and dairy, have sparked concerns in Ottawa about over-reliance on a single supplier. The ensuing diplomatic friction, coupled with threats from the White House to renegotiate trade agreements, has further strained relations. Now, as a tangible consequence of this discord, the possibility of cancelling the F-35 procurement has come to the forefront. To follow every update as it happens, don't forget to hit the like button and stay connected with us. In an interview on March 12, Prime Minister Mark Carney emphasized that Canada must recognize it cannot place blind trust in the US, and suggested that the F-35 program warrants reconsideration. Likewise, Defense Minister Bill Blair echoed similar sentiments, triggering widespread speculation in Ottawa. Is the F-35 deal truly in jeopardy? A significant development occurred on March 14 when Defense Minister Bill Blair confirmed during a press conference on Parliament Hill that Canada is actively exploring alternatives to the American F-35 stealth fighter jet. He announced plans to engage with rival aircraft manufacturers. On the same day, shortly after his reappointment under Prime Minister Mark Carney's administration, Blair's remarks fueled speculation that Canada might pivot towards European suppliers instead of the US. The question arises, are European fighter jets, such as the Eurofighter Typhoon or the French Rafale, viable alternatives for Canada? This isn't the first time such discussions have emerged. In the early 2010s, Canada briefly considered options like the Eurofighter, Boeing's Super Hornet, and the Rafale before ultimately selecting the F-35 due to the advantages of integration with the U.S. military and joint operations programs. However, the current state of U.S. Canada relations suggests that Ottawa is re-evaluating its reliance on a single partner. Geographical proximity to the U.S. has long made American military logistics, maintenance, and parts supply the default choice for Canada. However, in recent months, Canadian political figures have expressed a desire for greater autonomy. European aircraft manufacturers have seized the opportunity, positioning their models as cost-effective alternatives tailored to Canada's needs. The Eurofighter Typhoon consortium, for instance, argues that while its aircraft lacks the F-35 stealth capabilities, it offers versatility and lower maintenance costs. Meanwhile, the French company Dassault claims that the Rafale can be adapted to Canada's harsh climate. The F-35 program, backed by key allies including the United States, the United Kingdom, Italy, Australia, Norway, and Denmark, initially appealed to Canada due to its seamless interoperability with allied forces. Trade disputes and strained relations with Washington, exacerbated by Trump-era tariffs on dairy and steel,
abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer,
have prompted growing political voices in Ottawa to ask, if the US treats Canada as an adversary in trade, why should Canada remain fully committed to buying American defense equipment? With a hefty price tag of $13 billion, Canada initially planned to acquire 88 F-35s, with deliveries set to begin in 2026, ultimately replacing the aging CF-18 fleet by the early 2030s. If the deal collapses due to mounting tensions with Washington, Ottawa will need to act swiftly to find an alternative. However, reopening a defense contract of this magnitude would require starting technical evaluations from scratch, further complicating the process. The latest round of U.S. tariffs, targeting Canada's dairy and steel industries, has further fueled discussions about cancelling the F-35 deal. Potential alternatives include the Eurofighter Typhoon, the French Rafale, Sweden's Gripen, and American alternatives such as the F-15EX and the F/A-18 Super Hornet. However, none of these models can fully match the F-35's cutting-edge stealth capabilities. That said, public approval and cost-effectiveness may play a decisive role in Canada's final decision. On the morning of March 15, Defence Minister Bill Blair stated that Canada's treatment by its trade and defence partners influences its procurement decisions, hinting at the possibility of seeking an alternative path. Later that day, the Foreign Minister reinforced this sentiment, warning that if Washington continues to impose economic pressure, Ottawa will explore other strategic options.
We're ready. We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion, which is already.
Canadian media widely reported the comments under the headline, "Farewell to the F-35." While there is no official cancellation yet, the possibility remains open. U.S. defense officials have reportedly expressed concerns that if Canada pulls out of the F-35 program, it could significantly damage bilateral relations. Canada is a close ally and a key partner in the F-35 initiative. We hope they reconsider such a major decision, an unnamed U.S. official told the press. What would turning to Europe entail? For decades, Canada has been closely tied to U.S. defense programs. The F-35 acquisition was meant to modernize the country's air fleet. If Canada opts for European fighter jets instead, will it strain its long-standing defense relationship with the U.S.? Several European nations have already signaled their willingness to supply Canada with aircraft, with discussions involving French, German, and Swedish defense manufacturers. Some speculate that if Canada makes such a drastic shift, transatlantic relations could be at risk. A U.S. media outlet even warned that Washington would retaliate strongly if Canada were to abandon the F-35 in favor of European models. However, this debate extends beyond fighter jets. There are also discussions about broader trade diversification, potential free trade agreements with the EU, and increased defense cooperation with European nations. Canada has been gradually shifting towards European markets in the post-NAFTA era. Some Canadian analysts argue that breaking free from overdependence on the US could be beneficial. Should the F-35 contract be scrapped, it would mark a major shift in Canada's strategic approach, signaling a preference for European partnerships over US alliances. With public sentiment favoring defiance against US trade policies, many Canadians view distancing from the US as a necessary step. The United States, however, has cautioned that such decisions could severely impact bilateral relations. Some analysts believe that Canada will ultimately find a compromise, while others predict that Trump's confrontational style may push Ottawa further away. The situation remains fluid, with diplomatic negotiations heating up. Will Ottawa back down at the last moment, or is a definitive cancellation imminent? According to some reports, Canada will make its final decision within 2 months. What are the possible outcomes? Canada could cancel the deal, prompting retaliatory U.S. tariffs, or an agreement could be reached to ease tensions. Interestingly, this debate has extended beyond defense procurement. Broader trade and territorial issues are now in focus. What do you think? Will Canada abandon the F-35 deal in favor of European jets, or is this merely a high-stakes bargaining maneuver? The situation is evolving rapidly, and a new twist could emerge at any moment. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next big development in this ongoing debate.